You're not a photographer at this point. Photography is the conduit to your entrepreneurship, but you have to think like an entrepreneur first. What do I need to survive? How am I going to build this business? What is my marketing budget? Where am I spending my time? And dollar per hour.
Greetings and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. My name is Alan Weitz.
And I'm Jill Waterman.
How much time do you spend wrangling over the business aspects of your creative pursuits? In today's episode, we're taking you back to the 2023 B&H Depth of Field Conference for fresh insights on the business aspects of family portraiture from two specialists serving very different market segments. Our first guest is Michele Celentano, a serial entrepreneur who's shifted from weddings to families to her current focus on the big business of school and sports portraiture. She'll describe how she's modernizing and redefining this very lucrative market. After a break, Monica Sigmon expounds on the power of the family portrait and the complex economic factors involved in pricing your work. But for now, here's Michele. Okay, we are back, and we're being joined by Michele Celentano. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's so exciting to be here.
So you're in from Denver, is that correct?
Phoenix. Yes.
Okay, I knew you were somewhere out there.
But I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, so I'm home right now.
I'm a Brooklyn boy.
Yep.
So let's talk real things here now.
All right.
You know what I mean here?
Can I get a cup of coffee for $4?
So you've gone through some kind of a transition recently. You started off doing a lot of weddings. Is that correct?
Yeah. My photography career really started at the age of 17 in high school. I took photography and then started college like I was supposed to and hated it, and then went to fashion commercial photography school here in New York City, Center for Media Arts, Germain School of Photography.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so when I was done with that, I worked on cruise ships as a cruise ship photographer for almost 2 years and came home and started working for other studios, photographing weddings, assisting, carrying bags. And when I got tired of being told what to do by other studios, I started my own wedding business.
So now you're telling other people what to do.
Exactly, yeah. And I was 23 when I started my first photography business.
That's young.
Yeah, I was really young. And I had to make sure to prove my mother wrong because she thought, like, how are you ever going to make a living in photography? It's not rocket science. But so, yeah, I photographed weddings in New York tri-state area for 15 years. And then when I moved to Phoenix, it was after my daughter was born. It was after 2001, September 11th. So weddings in Phoenix were really, really boring compared to New York City weddings, which I was used to, like big ethnic Italian and Latino and Jewish wedding. Like, they were just all so amazing. And once I got to Phoenix, all weddings were at the country club at sunset with a cactus in the background, and I was completely bored out of my mind. And so I started photographing children and families and newborns, and I went in that direction.
One thing I just want to go back to, you started shooting when you were 23. Did you have any business background, or was it just pure chutzpah?
It was lots of good old chutzpah, and like we say in Italian, balls. We had a lot of balls. Anyway, I was really fortunate enough to have mentors at a very early age. My first mentor got me involved with professional photographers of Greater New York, the PPGNY group back then. And I started attending that group when I think I was like 22. And so I had a lot of people who were in business and coaching me on how to start my business, how to price myself. So I wasn't totally blind. I wasn't just like, hey, I'm going to start a business. I had a lot of people in my circle who were already business people running successful businesses and helping to coach me through that.
You're really fortunate because I went out also at an early age, but when I went out, I knew everything, and nobody can give me advice.
Of course you did. Yeah.
It took me a while to realize that I actually didn't know everything. So 2 points for actually grasping what you know and what you don't know.
Right. Yeah, I had great people that I could go to, and some of the best advice they ever gave me was that I shouldn't create a price list based on where I thought my value was at the moment, that I really needed to price myself appropriate for the market,
right,
and that my skill set would come up to meet those prices. especially when we're talking about weddings, because you're booking a wedding maybe a year, 18 months, 2 years in advance.
Right.
And in 2 years, your skill set could dramatically change. And if you're undercharging just to get the work, you're going to be in bad shape because, one, then following people are going to expect those really low prices as you are increasing your skill set. So I was taught very early, do not base your prices on what you think you're worth right now. Think ahead and base your prices on that, and then you work to get up to that price.
How do you figure out what that number is based on your skills and your market? And that's all part of it.
Correct. I tell people this all the time. You have to know that you have sellable images.
Mm-hmm.
Are they above average? Like, are they above what, Sally down the street can do with, a point and shoot, right? Are you studying and are you increasing in your craft all the time? This is really important. But if you're going to create a business, you have to start from a business standpoint, not a photography or an art standpoint. So you have to think to yourself, what do you need to earn a living? If it's a part-time thing and you want to build up to full-time, what will it take to get to full-time? How much money do you need to sustain your life? What do you need for your rent? What do you need to create savings? What do you need to feed your kids? What do you need to put away for retirement? You need to add up what you need to make, figure out how many clients you want to do that in, and then start to structure your prices around there. Not only that, but adding in what insurance is going to cost, what upgrading your equipment is going to cost, what a new hard drive is going to cost. Like, you have to factor in so many pieces of the puzzle that to come out of the gate and just say, well, I can sell a session for $200 and give away 20 digital files. And if I do that 100 times, I'm making whatever, $20,000. You can't think like that. That's not how you run a profitable
You lose on
business.
each job, but you make it up in volume, right? That's
No, it doesn't. No, you literally have to think like a numbers person.
Yeah.
You're not a photographer at this point. Photography is the conduit to your entrepreneurship, but you have to think like an entrepreneur first. What do I need to survive? How am I going to build this business? What is my marketing budget? Where am I spending my time? And dollar per hour. 10% of what we do is clicking the shutter. 10%. Like, people get into photography because they think they're going to be shooting all the time. Newsflash, no.
point and shoot, done.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, what do you do before? What is you're doing before you get to click that shutter? You're marketing, you're scheduling, you're getting your equipment ready. Then you go to your shoot. You shoot for about an hour. My processing for an entire session, family session, is about 7 hours. Only an hour and a half of that is the actual session. And so, how much are you getting paid per hour?
Now, on that point, I've had people come to me and say, they're just starting out. And again, people are afraid to put a value on their time. And again, it's just a human nature thing. And some of the advice I've given, which seems to click with some people, I go, how much does it cost if your sink gets plugged up and you have to call a plumber? How much does your plumber charge to come to your house for the minimum of 1 hour? That is your baseline if you don't know where to go. How much does a plumber charge? They're a professional, you're a professional, go from there.
Yeah. I've pointed out to people based on their prices that you could give up your business of photography and go work at a fast food restaurant and make more money.
Yeah, point taken, yeah.
So what are you trying to accomplish here? Unfortunately, in photography or any kind of art, people are valuing the art, right? They're valuing their experience or their how good their art is. They're not looking at it from a business standpoint. You're creating a business with an art. You can't price your art based on what you think. You have to price your business on what it costs to run your business and what it costs to be profitable, period. And that takes a lot of time and energy and a lot of thoughtfulness.
And honesty.
Yeah, and strategy. You have to have a strategy. And not just this year, but a 5-year strategy, a 10-year strategy, a retirement strategy. How much of your income needs to go into, a retirement account? How much needs to go to your kids' education? You need to plan for all of that. And that's not, a $15 8x10. That's a $200 8x10.
So, Michele, you're now transitioned from weddings to portraits. How much did you have to rethink your business or reinvent yourself in making that
It's a
shift?
complete reinvention. And we've also, in the last 2 years, have actually ventured into the school and sports volume market. So, and I say that because, again, the photography is the product, but those are 3 different businesses, very different businesses. With weddings, I was working with 30 to 40 clients a year. In the portrait world, you're working with maybe 100, 200 clients a year. That's a big shift from organizing and maintaining relationships with 30 people. So now you need a whole different system in place. And now you may not be just selling one album or, a couple albums to a family. You may be doing wall portraits and, all kinds of different image boxes and products that we offer, image boxes, albums, wall portraits. And you're working at a completely different level and a different price point. And then you move over into the volume world. Again, 10% of our time is spent behind the camera, but 90% is that marketing, that building a school relationship, the dealing with parents buying online. Pricing for volume is completely different than what we do for portraits or for weddings. So there are 3 different individual businesses with the end product being a similar product.
How many vendors are you dealing with, say, in general? Because I know for school photography, there are so many ways of using that image. Even for portraiture, there's everything from the traditional, 8x10 with decoupage to the acrylics where they're using lasers or whatever they're using to do this 3D imaging in acrylic, which is a photograph. I know it's weird, but
I've seen them and I walk by and I was like, what in the heck is that?
And people are actually making money doing it.
Yeah.
It may not be our cup of tea, but
Sure.
no, but there's a market.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? There's a market for everything. I was talking about this in my program earlier. I mean, there's a market for someone who wants to spend $1.75 million on an 8-carat Tiffany diamond ring. And there's a market for the person who's going to go spend $4,500 on a similar looking ring from Kay Jeweler. So you have to identify your target client. And it's not the same for everyone, right? I mean, depending on where you live.
Exactly, sure.
And in 1990 something, I could get $25,000 for a wedding in New York. That's not even possible in where I live now. It's just a different clientele. It's different. No place else besides New York City does weddings the way New York City does them. I mean, they're incredible events. So you have to take that into consideration. And again, but my cost of living in Arizona is so much less than it was in New York. So I don't need to, based on my cost of living, I don't need to charge the same thing. So you can't think if I go from X to Z, I have to charge the same thing. X is a completely different thing than Z. So I couldn't charge the same in Arizona. So people are like, you're changing your prices? Well, yeah, I have to adapt to my market, what my costs are. They've changed a little bit. And what my overhead is. It's changed completely. In New York City, I had a 120 square foot room where I met with clients for $2,400 a month. I have a 1,400 square foot studio in Arizona that I pay $1,400 a month. So you've got to account for all of that.
I heard a very interesting, similar to what you just said. You could turn on your tap here in New York and get water for free.
Right.
You can go to a vending machine, get it for $2. You can go to the deli and spend $3 or $4 for that. Or you can go to Yankee Stadium and pay $10 for that same bottle of water.
Right.
The water's the same. It's the place that changes the value of the water.
Yeah, you're at an event. You've taken your kids to, a baseball game. It's, something they're going to remember. Like it used to be something every parent could afford and it was cheap and you just went and had a great day. Now people are like, it cost us like $1,000 to go to a baseball game for a family of 5.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up sports again. You mentioned that you recently got into the sports portrait marketplace.
Yeah.
How has that changed
That's
your
very
business?
competitive.
It is. It's very competitive, but there are not a lot of people doing it really well. Mm-hmm. And so I'm 53 this year and thinking long-term retirement. I started thinking Michele Celentano portrait photography is not sellable. It's me, it's my brand, it's my style of shooting. What most portrait photographers don't know is that the real revenue is in volume portraits, right? And I say this all the time. Volume portraits were like the ugly stepchild of photography for a gazillion years. And it was a very hard entry point into that genre. But 3 years ago, a good friend of mine was telling me about his volume business and how, what he was doing. And I was like, that sounds pretty good. I just don't want to deal with paperwork, like all that paperwork. And he's like, no, you can do it all digitally now. We broke in, and it's great because we made lots of mistakes, and, it's a different animal. The end client is the parent, but they're not really the client. They're a buyer, but your school is the client.
Right.
And so you have to really get through that barrier and make sure that your products are for the school and that you're making their life easy, because that it's a nightmare for the schools to manage photography. And over the years, my daughter's portraits were horrendous, horrible. I'm like, in this day and age in photography, how are we still doing the same volume portrait garbage from 1970 something? Something has to change. And so I thought, I'm going to redefine the school portrait industry. And so that's what I'm working on right now. And it's been fun. It's really, really a lot of fun. And it's a long-term plan. It's teachable, it's buildable, it's scalable, it's repeatable. I can train people to do my style. We can have, 10, 15 different teams out, working with schools. And it's a retirement plan. I can manage that from my villa in Italy or my house in Mexico.
Or both.
Or both.
Why limit yourself?
Exactly.
So could you give us an example of how you've changed the senior portraits? What approach have you taken that's not traditional?
Well, this venture is actually like K through 8.
Okay.
So they're in school, the portrait packages you would get of your kids
Gotcha.
every year at school. That is actually driving some high school senior portraits for us that then come through Michele Celentano.
Okay.
So different avenue, but we did a completely different lighting setup. We are using beauty lighting instead of the traditional 2 umbrellas. We're giving these kids almost a fashion commercial look instead of like just that cheesy, you know what I'm talking
Choice
about.
of backgrounds, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
Everyone can pull out a horrendous 1970s school photo, and so very simple backgrounds, very clean, much more commercialized. Today's parents, millennials, they don't want that old looking stuff. They want clean white background, simple gray background. They're all about expression. And in the past, you pre-bought a package and you just got one picture, whatever it was. We're doing multiple expressions, multiple poses, and parents can buy their pictures after they see them online rather than before. So they have more choices.
Right.
They're used to shopping online. They're used to purchasing on their phone. Now they can see their children's gallery right on their phone, pick their favorite, pick a package, buy a digital file, do it all on their phone, and get everything delivered to their house. So taking that school photography industry and making it more modern, making the images better, giving parents more choices, it's really pretty cool.
And making an easier workflow for everybody.
And for the school.
And for the school. Yeah. That's probably a big key because we all know people who work for schools and then teach. It's like, if you can make their life easier,
Yes.
you already won.
Right. So we do all of the communication. The school doesn't have to do anything. All the school needs to send us is their data so that we can then send all the information.
That's great.
So it's fun. It's literally building something from nothing with a photography skill set and a business mind, but you're literally building an entirely new business. We rebranded it. It's under a different name. I'm building a staff, which I've really never had to do before. Now I have to hire and
That's
train.
right, yeah.
Right. So so that's exciting to me. Building something new from scratch is really exciting.
Yeah. So I want to ask about the presentation you just did. The title of the presentation was pretty interesting. Is Pro Photography Dying due to the increase in phone tech and AI?
Yeah.
How did you present that? What were your points?
In a way, it's a value-based idea. So I believe what what you think, what you say to yourself, the language you say to yourself, how you believe the industry is going. You literally manifest that. So if you really believe that professional photography is dying, in a way, you don't really value the work that you're doing and the experience that you're giving to people. People will always pay for an experience. There's always going to be people that, like I mentioned, you can buy a bottle of nail polish for $10, or I can spend, $2,000 a year getting manicures and pedicures at a salon. For that much money, I could buy 200 bottles of nail polish and have every color under the rainbow. But, women pay for services. And for the most part, in portrait, wedding, photography, your main client is women. And so understanding how women spend money, what they value experience. A woman who goes and spends half a day at the spa for $700-800 for a full body massage and a facial, and then she gets her hair done, that woman has disposable income. She also values service and experience, and is not going to be like I can do my own portraits on my phone. Because women say to me all the time, I hate the way I look in pictures. Of course you do. You've only seen yourself on your iPhone picture for the last 10 years.
With a wide-angle lens.
With a wide-angle lens,
in your
exactly.
Face.
I say it's a 35-millimeter lens. It distorts your face. No one looks good on phone camera pictures. Even with the portrait mode, all portrait mode does is make the background out of focus. It does not correct the distortion on your face.
Right.
And so I say, I work with professional cameras and lenses and posing and lighting. You'll be blown away by the way you look when I photograph you as opposed to what you've been seeing for the last 10 years on your phone. And I think maybe people just don't have the language or the confidence to say that. Again, New York, chutzpah, balls, platinum, whatever. That's what my husband says. I have no problem being that honest with people. Or moms who say, I've been dying to have a family portrait with you, and I know it's going to be expensive, so I just really want to wait until I lose some weight. It's my favorite thing. And I say, how long have you been saying that for? And she's like, well, since my youngest was born, I still need to lose that baby weight. Well, how old is your youngest? 8. And I'm like, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. It's been 8 years. And I say to women all the time, have you ever looked at a portrait of someone you really, really love and thought to yourself, they really should have waited till they lost some weight to take that picture because they look fat? No one has ever said that. And no one is going to say that about you. The way you feel about your body is in your own head, and the way that your kids see you and your family sees you has nothing to do with the way you see yourself. And if you keep putting it off, someday your kids won't have any pictures with you. Is that what you really want? Italian guilt, right? I'm good. I'm Catholic. I'm Italian. Is that you want to die without leaving your kids some pictures? What is wrong with you? So I have no problem saying that because it's true. And I think, new business people, new photographers they don't have that confidence to say, what I do is valuable. If you don't have a family portrait, you're not going to have pictures with your kids, because how many of your phone pictures have you printed?
Bingo. Mm-hmm. Sure.
How many of your phone pictures have you printed? I have them in my phone. That phone's going to die someday. Where are those pictures? Do you think your kids are going to go look on your cloud? Where's mom's cloud? Hey, do you remember Christmas 1972? Do you think we can go find those pictures? No. Unless it's printed and in your home and can be found in a box when you're gone and your children have children of their own, it's not a photograph.
Nobody's going to know where
Nobody.
the JPEG L100786 is.
Thank you. So I think we as photographers and business people need to have the courage to speak that truth and to educate clients. When was the last time you printed pictures from your phone?
Spoken by an individual who understands the business.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great.
All right, Michele Celentano, pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you
and I'm
so
sure
much.
that everybody who listened to you today is taking something home.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. Just real quick before we wrap up, I used to shop at B&H when they were on 17th Street.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was in school, I would stop by to get my sheet film and my paper and my chemicals. B&H has been literally a staple in my whole career, and so it's just such an honor to be here speaking to you and for B&H and part of this event. It really is cool.
Thank you. And there's a special place in heaven for all of that. So
Yeah.
it's not in vain. So thank you,
Thank you,
Michele
guys.
Celentano.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we're going to be chatting with Monica Sigmon about the anchoring stability family portraits provide when displayed and viewed on the walls of your home.
It's really not an exaggeration to say that family portraits can change the world. They can change the way children and families see themselves, especially in today's world.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. The best way to support the show is by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. For links to gear and more information on today's guests, check out the show notes in your podcast app or visit our homepage on the B&H Explorer website and join the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group. And now, back to the show.
Okay, we are back once again at Depth of Field with B&H for 2023, and we're with Monica Sigmon. And yesterday, Monica took the stage and spoke about the power of family portraiture. And want to elaborate on that a little bit? And first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Very glad to be back.
So what exactly was the emphasis on yesterday's talk that you gave us? I know that you portraiture is a powerful thing, but how are you actually targeting it that way here?
First of all, family portrait, we believe in the power of a portrait.
Okay.
Okay. So we know that family portraits change the way that children see themselves. We know that family portraits on the wall make children feel more secure in their family unit. They have a sense of place. They have a sense of permanence. And so it's really not an exaggeration to say that family portraits can change the world. They can change the way children see themselves and families see themselves, especially in today's world, right? Like everything's falling apart. So we believe in that. So the gist of yesterday's presentation was really to get photographers to think about what they're charging, because the average photographer, the average portrait photographer right now makes $31,000 a year, and that's not a sustainable model. So my talk yesterday was about helping photographers hopefully see how valuable it is what we do, and therefore should be charged accordingly. And if not, if we can't continue to sustain our living this way, then what's going to be the future of family portraiture? Proper portraiture, not cell phone portraiture, but proper family portraits that are hanging on walls, that are passed down for generations, that 3 generations from now, a small child looks up and says, that's where I come from. That will not be here if portrait photographers can't make a living today.
Well, let's take a step backwards. Okay, you're giving us a figure of 31,000, just nothing. I mean, there's really not much there. Now, that is an average of national photographers.
Yes.
Now, you can't live long for that kind of money. So my question to you is, how long have these people managed to stay in business before they just give up and walk away? Because you can't do this for 30 years at that rate.
No,
so we're
it's
talking
not
about people
sustainable.
with very short times.
Or this is a side hustle. It's a side gig. It's not their
Okay.
main. Or they have a partner that, they have income from another source. So I think that part of the problem in our industry over the last, particularly 10, 15 years, when digital really came up, and there was a lot of part-time photographers selling digital files, put the couch in the field, give you a disc of 50 images, when all of that started, because they weren't dependent on the income that they were making from portrait photography. What happened was the whole industry comes down to that level, right? So then the consumer marketplace, when they can't discern a difference between you and the other photographer standing next to you, then all you can compete on is price. And then it's a race to the drain. It's a race
I
to the
think
bottom.
What's part of the responsibility of the statement you just made is that when digital made its appearance, all of a sudden there's no film and processing, and everybody thought, well, it's free to take pictures now. But they're not thinking about the cost of living, of insurance, of all the other things that go into life. That,
Correct.
There's a reason why your plumber charges $150 an hour.
Correct.
At least.
Correct. Which is a pet peeve of mine, because I think that, for a long time, and probably still, people think all you have to do is put the word photography after your name and you're a professional, quote unquote, photographer. They're not paying for insurance or business taxes or business licenses or anything of that nature. So I feel like I'm on this one woman mission to to help portrait photographers understand, even if they have another source of income, what they do is so critical and so vital to our society. And they should not be undermining the value of what full-time professionals are doing. And I'm not taking away anything from people who are doing this as a side gig.
Yeah, but the thing is, don't give it away because
Don't
you're
give it
robbing
away.
the people who don't have the
Right?
the regular job, okay, with the insurance and everything else.
Not only that, but let's take it to the next level. So yes, logistically, they are bringing the, average income that can be acquired, making it much more difficult. So if that happens, like seriously, what is going to be the future of family portrait photography? Because if we can't make a living, then it's, and so it's a much bigger issue than just the strict financial, like dollars and cents of it. It's a 20 years from now, 3 generations from now. This is the most photographed generation. There are no prints. There are no prints. These photographers who are out there undervaluing what they do and simply handing over digital files, which, by the way, don't get me started on that. That is not a finished product. But handing over digital files, that doesn't put anything on the wall. That doesn't give you anything tangible. 3 generations from now, they're not going to know how to access those digital files. We all know technology has changed so much in the last 2 decades here.
JPEGs that are 10 years old that have been opened and closed and gone through a few different editing programs.
Correct.
Or just shot.
Correct. So we believe in the power of a portrait. We believe in the printed portrait. And we believe, and I say we, because my husband, Michael Taylor, who owns the studio with me, we believe in those things and we believe in the value of what we do.
You mentioned a print, and that is a very important part of the equation when it comes to family portraiture and working of this sort, because that is what you end up with. And again, you're talking about handing over digital files. You could look at everything on phone and pass it around and have it and being your screensaver and everything else, but that goes away. And a print on a wall, that locks the time in. That is a very fixed thing. And it's an interesting thing. I see a lot of people with pictures on their walls, but not necessarily formal portraits. And that's a very key thing here. And there's a power to it. I know some people that have some really wonderful formal portraits on there, things. And I always notice it when I walk into their homes.
Sure.
Even if I've been seeing this picture for 20 years and the kids already have kids of their own.
Right.
But it stands out. There's 2 or 3 that I know of from people from my neighborhood who, I walk in their house and I just know that picture's there.
Yeah. Well, it becomes part of the family history, right?
Yeah.
The family archive, really and truly.
Yep.
And so it's not even to say that, I talk to my clients all the time and say, listen, the best camera really is the one in your hand. And so their portrait of their 5-year-old getting on the school bus for the very first time, that first day of kindergarten, is not less important than what I have done in the studio. It's all important. It all needs to be archived together, but it all needs to be printed.
Yes.
I
mean, that's where you're making your money. Let's face it, at the end of the day, that's one of the reasons why we're doing it. Yes, we love what we're doing and it's photography and we get paid for playing. But again, from the business end of it, it's the print. That's what is basically generating a lot of your income. Am I right or wrong about that?
I don't think it's about the piece of paper, really, if you're doing it properly and you're marketing the right way. I think what we're selling is not the art itself, it's the result of the art.
Oh, okay.
It's the way you feel when you see that family portrait every day, when you walk through the hall and you see, your kid's now a 15-year-old and you hate him, but you walk by and you see the portrait that we did of him when he was 8 and you look at that and you go, okay, I know he's in there somewhere. He will return, right? So it's the result.
But what I mean, though, as a business person, okay? Mm-hmm. You're doing this because you have to eat and you have to keep warm and feed the kids and everything else, okay? That print, or multiple prints, that's key to your business right there. Whereas when you give the file away, there's...
Oh, for sure. No, giving files
nuts.
away is not, no.
Now, let me ask you a question. Out of all of the photographers that do portraits, family portraits, roughly what percentage are photographers that's only what they do? They are family portrait photographers as opposed to photographers who that's one of their categories that they do. Is there anybody just narrowing just right on that?
Yeah, I think there are. I don't know the numbers. I don't have the research on that, but I will say it's less than it ever has been. So, for instance, I opened up my studio 23 years ago.
Right.
And I came up in a community of Professional Photographers of America, PPA,
Okay.
and
So
all
you
of their
knew- you knew the deal.
the state affiliates. So there
Sure.
was like the standard, right? The standard of education. And so there were many, many, many studios at that time making a full-time living. Now, 23 years later, we look at our friends and this one's closed and that one's closed and this one's closed. And it's getting much, much harder. And a lot of people, I think, are bitter and they'll say, well, digital photography ruined it and these weekend warriors ruined it and they're handing out files and whatever else. And yes, that made it significantly more difficult. However, there are some of us that did survive. So, there's more to it than that. But I would say the number is smaller, and I think that's sad. And I think that's, again, a function of the fact that the average professional photographer makes $31,000 a year. It's not sustainable.
On the other end, that shrinking of the amount of photographers allows you an opportunity to sort of double down and stand out. And let's talk for a minute about your Black Label portraits and how that's
Thank you.
going.
Yeah, it's
'cause that's how long now have you been
5
doing
years
that?
this week. It occurred to me yesterday
Wow.
when I was up on the stage, and I was like, "Wait, what's the date?" And it's been 5 years this week that we launched it. So I
Right.
started shooting it, several months before that, and then came to the marketplace with it 5 years ago, and it's been amazing. And I think that is actually a testament to the fact that people do want that kind of, quote, proper family portraiture.
This is a premium version where you go a little bit more beyond the. Okay.
Yeah. If you look at my Instagram, then you'll see it there.
Yeah,
It's like
yep.
filled with it. So
Yep.
it's more dramatic, it's more cinematic in its lighting. But I think the key to it is really the expressions, because it's something that people aren't used to seeing, because there aren't big toothy grins. It's a very slight expressions, very soft and subtle. And so moms, I think, are reacting to that because it's not anything they have in their cell phone. They can't get those expressions from their children. We can. And it's something that they know their child has, but they can't capture that. And so I think it's very poignant for them. And I think that people want to have proper portraiture, but they don't know where to go. So on the one hand, yes, it helps us capitalize with an innovative product. But on the other hand, if there's only 5 of us left doing it in the country, then the majority of the people won't know that it's an option.
Right.
So they're not
Right.
going to find me anyway, because they're not going to know they don't even know what to ask for, So it's both ways, I think, both sides.
So with that subtle expression, what's the ordinary kid that maybe, is like, oh, really? We got to go to a portrait session?
We call that Tuesday. Yeah, yeah.
How do you explain it to them? How do you get them on board?
So I think that children, and I get this question a lot, but I think children will mirror what's in front of them. It may take them a while. They come in like rowdy, ready to go, because mom said, now you're going to smile, and we're going to go for ice cream, and we're going to do all the things, like all the bribes. So it may take me a little bit, but the quieter I get, then they'll start to match that energy. And in fact, I had a 6-year-old in the studio last week, and the first thing, she just started grinning and grinning and grinning, and I was like, okay, we're gonna have a little talk. And I'm like, well, this is how we roll here. I go, at Miss Monica's, we actually don't smile. And she looked at me and she was like, what? And I was like, no, we just do closed mouth, and I don't even want to see any teeth. And
so you're asking them to mirror you, not the parent.
oh no, parents aren't allowed in the camera room. No.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay.
Yeah. So I told her, I'm like, so no, we don't smile at Miss Monica's. And she thought about it, and she was like, this is the best place ever, So
The Wednesday came out. And
yeah, the Wednesday came out. Yeah, exactly. So they'll do it. And kids, kids are amazing. I think the number one mistake photographers make with children, and I did it for a long time because I don't have children of my own, so they were like alien to me completely. I was like, why is this 3-year-old not doing what I'm telling him to do? Like, I don't
can't
understand.
I reason with
right.
this child?
I mean, doesn't he understand I have a schedule today? But the biggest thing about kids is they are little humans. They're little people. And if you just start asking them questions and talking to them, they're fascinating little people. And then they forget that they're supposed to be smiling and they're supposed to be that. So for me, Black Label, like the expressions are subtle, but what I'm really going for is that kind of split second of vulnerability. And you usually get that when they're thinking about something. So when I ask them a question and they're thinking about the answer, or you know what I mean, like it's a really it kind of happens in slow motion. It's interesting.
Something I'm kind of curious about. I'm trying to put my head into your studio as you're working with it, and it's an interesting process you have. And you're talking, there's a lot of control going on here to get what you need. So what I'm wondering is, photo studios can be very visually busy. Do you minimize clutter or keep the sides dark just to keep everything focused in that space?
Great question. Yeah, so we're very minimal. We don't over prop our portraits whatsoever. I mean, the only thing that we have are some apple boxes and a couple stools, maybe a chair or two, but
even surrounding, like beyond camera, a sight, there's a lot of things that kids can get distracted. I would imagine you.
Yeah, the lights come down, and so we'll kind of build a little box around them with some backgrounds, so they're kind of enclosed and feeling a little bit more private.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
Yeah, and a little bit more private. And then again, moms are like not allowed, and I can tell the second a parent has stepped out of bounds and is watching, I can see it instantly in the child. And all I have to do, I don't even have to turn around. I'll be like, Mom, get off set. And she'll be like, how'd you know? And I'm like,
the ears went back on your child.
Yeah. I'm like, because your kid can't look at two people at once. And guess where they're looking? So go sit down. So, and then the kids laugh because I'll say, should I just put Mom in timeout? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, that's it, Mom, you're in timeout. And then she can't do anything. Like, you can't, because when she puts her kids in timeout, they can't leave. So she's got to set the example. So that works really well.
That's great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, man.
It's an interesting thing. One of my earlier gigs was there was a toy company called Creative Playthings from Finland. And they had, in New Jersey, is where their U.S. office was. And I used to photograph little kids a lot. And they were all real kids. They had a toy store there. So we used to check it out. And it was all local kids. So we got to know local families. And so it was local kids who appeared in the catalogs and in the packaging. And it is fascinating working with them. You get down to their level and start talking with them and stuff like that. And it is amazing how much you can really work with a child.
Yeah.
Not even a professional, just a real child.
Yeah, they're smart.
Yes.
Photographers underestimate that. They're smart. Especially if they don't have children of their own like me. And so I was like an idiot for like a decade. I lost a good decade of great portraiture because I just didn't understand why these people wouldn't reason with me. But now, like I'm into it. Like, bring me every 3-year-old on the planet. Like, my jam is that 3 to 5, 3 to 6 sweet spot. Like, I love these little kids, and I just want to know everything about them. And so I'll like get them on the set, and then I'll be walking back to the camera, and I'll be like, okay, listen, I got a lot of questions for you, buddy. So are you ready? And they'll kind of sit up and they'll be like, what is she gonna? Because people don't talk to the kids like that.
Right.
You're talking
People
to them
talk
like
down
an
to
adult.
them.
Yeah, yes, you
People
talk
talk down
one-to-one.
to them, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, please, don't you think I understand? So then I'll be like, okay, I need to understand a couple things. Like, first of all, like, let's get the age out of the way. Like, how old are we? And they'll tell me, and I'll be like, okay, so you're 5. So that means 5th grade. And you can just see this like split second of like confusion turns into, is she an idiot? Is she teasing me? Like, what's happening? Do you know what I mean? And so it's like these great expressions, and we just rapid fire through them, and it keeps them thinking about something else rather than being photographed. So for me, that's kind of been really helpful. Maybe that'll help somebody else out there. I don't know.
Reminds me of that old time, Art Linkletter, kids say the darndest things.
Yeah.
What's the craziest reaction or thing that you've gotten?
Oh my gosh. Like, when I get them start talking about dad, like I get all kinds of goods on the parents, which is pretty hilarious. I forget what somebody said to me a couple of weeks ago. Somebody said something, I could hear the mom like audibly groan in the I was like, this is awesome. And then that wins the kid over too. Like, then I'm on their side, And it's funny because I think photographers are too afraid. Like, you talk about taking control. I think photographers are afraid to take control because from the parents. because they're like, well, this person's paying me, and I can't be, if they want to watch the
they're
session,
paying
they
you
should
to
be
do your job is what they're paying you
exactly
for.
right, exactly right. And so I had a grandfather the other day that was kind of like, well, that was disappointing. I came to the session so I could watch, and you didn't let me see a thing, and I was like, yep. And I warned you beforehand, you can come, but you're going to sit on the sofa and you're going to keep your mouth shut, and you didn't believe me. And so, but we got these incredible portraits, and he's like, you're right. Now I understand. So I think that photographers need to take better control. And the thing that will start to happen if you don't is, like, I'll ask, especially like teenage girls, I'll ask them a question, and moms are like right there chiming in for them. And if you're not careful, you can watch that little girl is just like shriveling exactly into herself because mom's taken over. And I just have to go, okay, mom, I'm trying to bond. Give me a second. I'm trying. And then they're like, oh, okay. And I'll be like, so, like, what do you do for fun? Well, she horseback ride. And then I'm like, oh my God, mom, get out of here, And then you just like build that 12-year-old up so that she understands that she is an individual and that she's important to me. And so I think we don't realize it's not just the portraits, right? It's the experience. It's how you're making that person feel in front of you and what they'll carry away with them when they leave.
It's an interesting thing that you're talking about dealing with small people. And I don't remember who it was, but we were talking once to somebody who does a lot of executive portraiture. And it was the same exact thing where you're a photographer, you're being hired, and this person in front of you is one of the most powerful human beings on earth. But they hired me to make this person look good. And therefore, I will go over and I will straighten this person's tie,
Yes.
or I'll ask them to do this. And I will basically, I respect this person, but my job is to make them look good.
Yeah.
And you get respect for doing that.
I'm really glad that you brought that up because, and I had this problem for a lot of years because we are a higher end, studio. We're expensive, and so the clients that were coming in the door certainly made more money than I was making, and I was very intimidated by that. I started the studio when I was 28 years old, and so you're kind of like, they're seeing through me, imposter syndrome, I'm a fraud, like all of it, which we call Wednesdays around here. Like, that's still every day. But the thing about people with money, you're exactly right. They hired you as an expert in what you do. Like, he may be a heart surgeon and have gobs of money, but I'm not going to go perform heart surgery. I'm not trying to be a heart surgeon. He's not trying to be a photographer.
No, actually, a lot of heart surgeons do try to become photographers.
That's true. That's true. That's exactly right.
But if you tell them that you dabble in surgery, they're aghast.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. So, so you just kind of, but you're right. They will respect you more if you just take control. And so,
take yourself seriously.
Yeah, and my husband taught me that a long time ago because I'd be like, oh my God, this guy's coming in and he's like this bigwig or whatever. And he's like, yeah, but you're the best at what you do. So just carry that. You don't have to be him. You just have to be the best at what you do.
That's right.
And I thought, okay, so that's given me a lot of freedom, And I think one thing I tell people all the time is that if you're nervous or you're anxious going into a session or going into a sales appointment, selection appointment, whatever, that's because you're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about, they're going to see through me, or I don't think I'm worth that amount of money, or I hope my lights are in the right place, or what if I don't know what to say, or whatever. Like, you're in your own head. So if you can get out of that and start focusing on the person in front of you, whether it's the big wig or the 3-year-old, and how can you make them feel better? How can you make them feel amazing today? Your brain physically can't concentrate on them and you at the same time.
Right.
So when you can remove yourself and just start saying, okay, what do they do? And what do they, and ask them questions and talk to them and make them feel better, make mom feel better, whatever, then it's not about you. And then you realize, what? None of this is about you. None of this is about you. We want to take all the credit when the portrait turns out. They don't care. They really don't care. They just want the end result. So none of this is about us.
Right. Good points. Excellent.
I appreciate
it.
Anyway,
Monica Sigmon, thank you so much for joining us again today.
Anytime.
And interesting talking about portraiture. You think it's just about taking pictures of people, but obviously it's a lot more than that.
Yeah, it sure is. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Monica.
Okay. Have a great day.
All right, that's the wrap of another episode. We'd like to thank Michele Celentano and Monica Sigmon for joining us, as well as all of our colleagues at B&H who put together another great Depth of Field conference. And if you enjoyed listening to our show, subscribe to the B&H Photo Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on the B&H Explorer blog and on the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group page, where you can share your favorite photos and comments about the show. I'm your host, Alan Weitz. Jill Waterman is our senior creative producer. Episodes are recorded, mixed, and edited by technical producer Mike Weinstein. Our executive producer is Jeremy Weiss, and our editorial director is Sean Steiner. On behalf of all of us, thank you oh so much for tuning in today.